Bibles, and I'll give you the page number that it's on. If you've never used a Bible before, it starts from 1 to about 600 in the Old Testament, and then starts over again from 1 in the New Testament. And we'll take a look at it and see what is being said. And you look at the mystical thing. If I tell you, let's go shoot the bull, you're not going to get a gun. At least most of you wouldn't. I would hope you wouldn't get a gun. And in the Bible, the same way. The Bible says it speaks in parables, Psalm 78:2. Wisdom is understanding dark sayings, Proverbs 1:6. Mark 4:34, Jesus never spoke but in a parable. Galatians 4:24, the Old Testament's an allegory. Signs, symbols, allegories, numerology, that's what it's made of. It's the ancient mystical writings of the sages of the most ancient times who put all of this together. And why did they write like this? Because if they talked of a mountain 10,000 years ago, or you talk of a mountain today, or you talk of a mountain 10,000 years from now, it'll always be a mountain and everybody will always understand it. The only thing you've got to do is realize what a mountain is. A mountain is the higher realms, the higher place, higher realms of consciousness. Same with the desert. And so it's God's universal language. He can talk to people in the past, today, in the future, in any language in the world, because a mountain is a mountain and it always will be a mountain. And a desert is a desert and it always will be a desert. And once you understand what it means, you've got the key to unlocking all of the ancient scriptures. Whether they be Buddhic, whether they be Hindu, whether they be Christian, Jew, whatever it is, you'll understand them by understanding the symbols, okay? So let's take a look at Matthew chapter 25, and you're on page 26 in those little Bibles. And let's see what it says and see what we're talking about. And I'll try to go along with this fairly slow because of the depth of it and the mysticism of it and the importance of it to your life. In other words, it's something that applies to you, okay? Look what it says, Matthew 25. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be like unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. 2, 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. 3, they were foolish, took their lamps and took no oil. 4, the wise took oil in their lamps. 5, the bridegroom tarried, they all slept, and at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom go out to meet him. Those virgins arose, trimmed their lamps. 8, the foolish said, give us your oil, our lamps are gone out. The wise answered, no, you go buy your own. 10, while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they were ready, went in, blah, blah, blah. 11, afterward came the other virgins saying, Lord, open the door, and he said, I never knew you. Okay, basically what we're talking about here is 10 virgins. You didn't know there were that many, did you? Well, there were 10. 10 virgins all in a row. But let's take a first look and say, how did that begin? The kingdom of heaven is like. All right? So first of all, we've got to define what we're studying. What are we looking for? If I say to you, Oregon is like, you say, well, where's Oregon? I say, well, it's on the west coast of the United States, a little bit north of California, a little bit south of Washington. You know where it is. So if Jesus is going to tell us the kingdom of heaven is like these 10 virgins, then we got to go find out what the heck is he talking about? Where is this place? Open to page 77 in those little Bibles in the book of Luke. Matthew, Mark, Luke, okay? Luke 17. And so we'll identify what we're talking about and what we're studying about, and then I think it'll be meaningful to you. Because he said the kingdom of heaven is like this. God's kingdom is like this. So you want to know, well, where the heck is that? On the west coast or the east coast, or where is it? Okay. Luke 17 and verse 21. Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. So what did Jesus just say? We're going to talk about what it's like inside of you. Not in some town somewhere, not on some planet somewhere. What it's like inside of you. What your mind is like, how it operates. And he says it's 10 virgins. So within your mind are the 10 virgins. And what do they represent? They represent the 5 senses negative and the 5 senses positive. Running out of ink. Okay? 5 senses negative, 5 senses positive. There's a duality in everything. You cannot have energy unless you have a negative and a positive. You cannot have energy unless you have tension. You can't. You got a lot of energy, haven't you? Okay. You've got to have it. Why? You can't have up without down. You can't have left without right. You can't have in without out. You can't. You can't have good without evil. You can't. Because if there's no evil, then who knows what's good? And so here you have the five senses negative and the five senses positive, and they are part of your experience. You're part of your mind, and you have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with them. There is nothing you can do about the fact that you have a negative aspect in your mind and you have a positive aspect in your mind. It is there. You have to have it. Here's lights. You see, we can see. You can see to read with. How come? Because there's a positive and a negative. If you didn't have a positive and a negative, that would not light. Is that right, sir? Right. You're the expert in all of this. See? He knows, so it must be true. What are the five senses? Sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. That's hearing, if you wouldn't believe that. Well, we're running a little fast here. Okay, hearing. Sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. What happens is you take information into you from one or more of your five senses, and as that enters into you, your brain processes this information and determines how it relates to you. That's what happens. See? Doesn't make a difference whether you believe this or not. People say, I don't know if I believe that. I don't really care. That's still the way it happens. If you get on a plane going to Chicago and you believe you're going to Philadelphia, when that plane lands, you're going to be in Chicago anyhow. Who cares what you believe? The point is, what's the truth? This is why the people say to me, well, I believe this. That's ridiculous. How can you know to believe anything? You can't see it. Where is it? Where is this God? Where is all of these things they say there? Nobody sees it. The Christian philosophy is you have to pay them, and then after you die, you get the good stuff. Get out of here. Tell them no. I want it now. Jesus said God is a God of the living, not of the dead. What a deal that is. Pay me your money, then after you die, everything will work out. How would you like to buy a car? Pay a guy $150 a month, and then after you die, they'll deliver the car. Isn't this great? That's the same thing. But the point is, you wouldn't do that. But they'll flock into these churches and dole the money out. Here it is. Here's my money. Here's my money. Boy, it's great. After I die, something good's going to happen. Forget it. Forget it. It's not. Because in the first place, you ain't never going to die. What are you going to do with that? You're going to come back here, sit, and there's going to be another guy standing up here taking your money. And let's do it again. Here we go. Okay, after you die, I'm going to get... This goes on forever. Why not stop it now and plug right into the source and find out what this is about? Okay, what happens then with this sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing? You get this, your brain... There are so many factors that go into why you do the things you do. Something your parents taught you, something you learned in your church, something from your family, something from your school, something from the government, and something from a previous existence. Something from a previous life making you the way that you are. And you don't even remember it. But you don't even remember all the dreams you had last night. But you did. You were all over the place, in exotic places. You were hula-wing and doing all these crazy... You don't even remember being there, but you were there. So it doesn't make any difference whether you believe it or not. You were there. Every one of you had dreams all night long, and you don't even remember being there. But you were there. All these exotic adventures. People were chasing you with guns and all of this stuff, and all monsters were chasing you, and you had a wild time. You don't know a bit about it, but you were there. Think of this. If you dreamed 50% of the time and did this 50% of the time, which would be the dream? So who's to know? Okay. But what happens then, they call this strange thing of you being the way you are because of your past life karma. You carry that along. See? Try to work it out. Try to figure out. In other words, I say this is beautiful karma. This is the way nature works. If you're proud to be black, in your next life, you'll be pure white. As wretched as that may sound to some of you, that's the way it's going to be. I'm proud to be Irish. In the next life, you'll be born in Tel Aviv. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. If you're proud to be an Italian, hey, I'm proud of the way I am. Next time, you'll be born in Lebanon. It doesn't make any... That's the way nature deals with you. Everything that you're proud of, it works. You work your way out because it's your experience. You see, my mother died about 5 years ago. Joan's mother died about 5 years ago. Both of them are probably 5-year-old children. They may be here, playing in there. I don't know. And what are we all doing? We're all working our way back up the pyramid, and we'll all meet at the top once we get it right. And each one of us has an opportunity then in life to climb and climb as many needs as it takes to reach the top. That's beautiful. You say, well, I don't know about this karma. Jesus taught it. Jesus taught it. See, that's what I want you to get this book, because then you have these things. Jesus taught karma. He taught his disciples. Watch something here, very interesting. Go to page 98 in those little Bibles. Let me show you how Jesus taught it. Jesus taught his disciples. They sat under him, they walked under him, they understood what he said. Okay? Now take a look at John chapter 9 and verse 1. Okay? And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents? Then did Jesus say, well, wait a minute, knucklehead. How could a guy sin before he was born? And where did they get that idea that somebody could sin before they were born? If that person sinned before he was born, he must have had a previous life experience in which he could have, and that could have resulted in a negative aspect physically from karma, couldn't it? And they understood that, and that's what, and Jesus didn't say, hey, you're crazy. He just, no, that wasn't the case. This one is to show the glory of God. That is karma, and it's in your Bible, and it was believed by the disciples in Jesus Christ. So now notice as we go back to Matthew 25. Let's go back on page 26 in your little Bible where we were, because we want to find out. We know this is about our mind, and we want to find out, how the thing acts. Matthew 25. And notice something about this. The kingdom shall be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Notice that 10 virgins. Those of you that come every other Sunday morning, I teach on the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that there are 10 worlds of the human mind. 10 aspects of the human mind. Here they are, right here. 5 of them negative, 5 of them positive. Even last week, we did tranquility. That was the 5th one. And you would think, man, that's the one I want. That tranquility, that's a good aspect. And Buddha says it's a good aspect only for a little bitty time. Because if you stay tranquil too long, you're going to get lethargic. And when you're lethargic, you're open then for somebody to come along and influence you, and they'll come at you from all directions. You cannot be tranquil too long. That the gazelle or whatever it is out in the Serengeti, he's munching on his straw or whatever they munch on in the ground, but then whoop, their head goes up looking around. You got to watch. You got to be alert, because people will take advantage of you. And so those are the 5, and then you've got your 5 senses negative, 5 senses positive. So now they took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Well, let's identify the bridegroom. You got this so far where we're at? Now we got to identify who the bridegroom is. Do you know why you're here? Do you know why people would come all the way down from Orange to sit here? From Atlantic City to sit here? Do you know what is going on in the universe? Do you know that the planet Uranus is moving in an arc to the constellation Aquarius? And at that point, there will be a wedding. And the bride is Gaia, the earth, and that Uranus is coming to claim the bride, and that's called the New Age. And it's going to happen, some people say 2010. It could very well be, according to the computers, 1994. Do you know that's why Russia has changed? That's why all South Africa has changed. That's why Latin America is changing. That's why it's got to change here. Because all of this is happening. The bridegroom, Uranus, is coming to claim the bride. And that is zodiacal mythology that predates the Bible by thousands of years, that story of the bridegroom coming for his bride. That's why you feel the way you do. You're getting ready for a wedding. You're getting ready for a wedding, and it doesn't make any difference whether you believe it. If you don't believe it, take a look. Go to the planetarium and watch it. Watch it. It's happening. And what happens here? In Aquarius is where the wedding takes place. The man with the pitcher of water. Who was the man with the pitcher of water? Jesus Christ. What did he do with the pitcher of water? He turned it into wine, poured the Spirit out all over the planet. That's what's going to happen. And what did Jesus say? In Luke 22:10, when you see the man with the pitcher of water, enter into the house, go to the upper room, I'll meet you there. That's pretty good. It's in the book. It's in the book. It's all right, it's right. I love these people. Love that. See, that's what most of these people, see, you people are great. Edge me on. These people here, they're wonderful. I love them, but they stare at me constantly. Just stare at me. Okay. So let's identify the bridegroom. We've identified the bridegroom astrologically, if you would. Let's identify the bridegroom biblically. Let's go to page 172. Okay, because we got to talk in your New Testament, 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians and chapter 11. Okay? Now, watch this here. Watch this here. It's very important. Talking about the virgins, we're talking about the bridegroom. Here's the Apostle Paul speaking in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Verse 2. For I am jealous over you with godly jealousy. Now watch this one carefully. I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. Got it there? There we have the virgin. Now we have the bridegroom, who is Christ. Does not mean Jesus. It means Christ. Jesus was the Christ. Christ consciousness. Krishna was the Christ. Buddha talked to you about reaching the Christ consciousness. The Christ is within you. There's no man inside of you. Your body is constructed, and at the right hemisphere of your brain, when you touch that, it opens up and becomes the Christ. And it starts to be, I have the mind of Christ because I have activated the right side. How did you do it? Because you cast your net to the right side, as Jesus said, and you will find. That's the Christ. I have espoused you as a chaste virgin, men and women. It has nothing to do with sex at this point. It has to do with the virginity of this. Only in the virgin state can the Christ be born. And it is the virginity of your mind. When you reach Om, when you reach Nirvana, when you have separated from the thoughts of the lower, you are no longer tainted or touched by that which is the carnal. You are a virgin. See? So then, you're seeking Christ within. That's who you're seeking. Christ is the bridegroom. And I'll show you how this works. You can't, all of this stuff is ridiculous if it's just Bible stuff. You've got to reduce this down to something inside of you so you can make it happen. What do these things symbolize? Inside of your head. In other words, something has to be built, created inside of your brain that uses the name Christ. And there has to be something in here. When Jesus said it is not me who does it, it's the Father within me, he was talking about the higher mind. In other words, there was something in him that did this. God has created in you a higher mind, and it is called, spiritually, the Father. That's the part of God in you that is the Father. And when you activate it, the Father is alive within you. That means the higher mind is alive within you. And you cannot activate it unless you follow the instructions of Krishna and Buddha and Jesus Christ. The only way. Jesus said, no one can come to me. No, excuse me. No one can come to the Father but by me. What did he say? He's saying? He said, if you don't do what I tell you to do, you'll never find him. Seek within. Practice the single eye. Cast your energy to the right side. And you'll find the Father. The Father is the right hemisphere of your brain. That's why it's all sitting at the right hand of the Father. Okay? So you're seeking the Christ. Now notice in Matthew 25, the virgins take their lamps. So what are you going to bring? Are you going to bring the higher light, the lamp from the higher, or the lower light, the lamp from the lower? Go to page 533 in the Old Testament. The Old Testament now. And in Psalm 130. This is psychology. You know what this whole thing is about? The whole thing is about the kingdom which is resting between your ears right now. Your head. What's inside it. How it was constructed so that you could make it explode in godliness. 533, according to me. I mean, I've been wrong on some of these things. But Psalm 132. That's easy to find. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the two lamps. Remember, we have the virgin, the positive 5, and we got the negative 5. So we got the negative over here, we got the positive, and we got the virgins, okay? So they're going to take their lamps. Let's take a look at the two kinds of lamps. Psalm 132, and let's go to verse 17. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. There's your positive lamp. Do you see that? I have ordained a lamp. That's the lamp you want to take. And you can only take this through meditation. You can only take this when you're willing to put down everything that you've ever used to try to light your way and go deep within yourself for that lamp, which is the precious, eternal, godly lamp, that holy place within you. And I'll show you where it is. But I want to show you the other lamp. You're in Proverbs, you're in Psalms. Go to the book of Proverbs on page 550. Book of Proverbs, page 550. Now, with everybody grown, please. You want to get a picture of this, please? You come in and read it. It's okay. I won't do this to you. And as soon as the father makes... come on up here, Reed. Come on, you're up here with me. Would you get a picture of Father Don sneaking along the back, sulking and moving quietly along the back? We don't embarrass people, right? They just put them on national television.
We had a flag.
Oh, don't take it. Oh, come on, everybody on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, good to have you. I'm glad you're safe.
We're not, obviously.
Well, okay. I'm glad you're here.
So what happened so far,
Okay. Okay, I showed you the higher lamp. You have to get a tape. All right. There are Proverbs 13. You looked at the higher lamp. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. Now look at Proverbs 13. It's on page 550. Proverbs 13 and verse 9. Okay, with me? The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Now, did you see? There's a lamp for the anointed, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Tell me, how do you put out the lower lamp? How do you turn out that lower light? How do you extinguish that lower light that leads you into all of the garbage that you've experienced in your life? Jesus said it in 3 words. Take no thought. Bang. It's out. Oh, I can't shut my mind down. Yes, you can. Shut your breath off for 10 seconds and your mind stop like that. Your thoughts will stop like that. Hold your breath for 30 seconds and you'll get a bigger trip. 3 minutes and you'll never worry about breathing again, never worry about another thought coming into your mind. It's all over with. No problem. Okay, so we have the 2 lamps, and you saw that. Now, what I wanted to show you is this. We're talking about the light, we're talking about the lamp, we're talking about the sun. There is a part in your brain that is represented mystically by the sun. Okay? Watch me with this because this is important for you. That part of your brain is called the pineal or pineal gland of the brain. Okay? It is the male aspect of the pyramid. It sits with the pituitary gland, which is the female aspect of the pyramid. The pituitary gland provides one thing, pineal gland provides another thing. This here is when Jesus Christ said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. There it is right there. The pineal gland of the brain. You see the dot in the center of a Hindu's forehead. That's what it represents. Pineal gland of the brain. Jesus Christ said, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. You will touch the sun. The sun will light. The clouds will disappear. I don't have the page of this, but go back to the first book of the Bible, book of Genesis. Shouldn't be too difficult to you, because if you go beyond that, well, there's nothing there. So that shouldn't be too hard for you to find. Genesis 32, I just want to show you something. And you read with me. Genesis 32, Jacob has seen God face to face. Jacob has become aware. Jacob has become enlightened. Jacob has been filled with light. And Jacob says in Genesis 32, verse 30, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. It's in the book. It's in the Bible. Okay. So the pineal gland, symbolically, in your brain is the same as the sun in the sky. Okay? Now, the reason that I want to show you this is because if you'll go back with me, well, you don't have to go back to Matthew 25. Remember, these virgins went forth to meet the bridegroom. Is that right? Okay, the bridegroom. And we're talking about the sun in the sky. Okay? The pineal gland of your brain. Why is this important? Okay, you're back in the Old Testament, page 471, Psalm 19. Psalm 19. Psalm 19, and we're talking about the pineal gland, we're talking about the sun, we're talking about why you've got to go and meditate. Why you've got to raise your energy. When you meditate, you raise your energy to the pineal gland of the brain, to the sun. Psalm 19, you with me? Okay, go to verse 4. Their line is gone out through all of the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them has he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of the chamber, and rejoices as a strong man to run. What is it that is the bridegroom, the sun? What is it in your body that is the sun? The pineal gland of the brain. If your eye be single, your body will fill with light. Many of you have read the Old Testament, and you've heard about burnt offerings, and you've seen them burn up a cow. For what? To eat. I'll buy that, but nothing spiritual. You want to see the burnt offering? Let me show you the burnt offering, and it's going to happen in March. The sun in the sky, the bridegroom, the sun, in its upward arc, consumes Aries, the ram or the lamb. When the fire consumes the lamb, there's the burnt offering. And what happens then? Spring comes. Spring comes. Everything which has been dormant comes back to life. All that has been gray bursts forth in color, but it can't happen unless there's the burnt offering. When you allow that sun to raise itself up into the ram, and that it consumes that which is the Aries, the pineal gland, that which is the sun, and it's all melted together, then here comes sun. Here comes the summer of your life. Here comes the spring of your life. All of that. And how do you do that? Simply by allowing that which is here. Point to here. You all have it here. Point to here. You know what that is called? Solar plexus, the place of the sun, right there. And when that raises itself, it consumes the ram, the lamb, the burnt offering takes place in meditation, and then it sits at the right hand of the eastern sky, and summer comes to your life. All of that which has been dormant, all of that which has been gray is gone, and you burst forth with color. But you've got to do it. You can't read about it. We're going to go over to the Chinese restaurant later. What am I going to do? Sit there and read about lo mein? What good's that going to do me? Then that's all they do in religion. They read about it. It's like going into restaurants and reading menus. Oh, I'm going to the menu reading. Are you going to come to the menu study on Wednesday night? Yes, we're going to read the menu. Oh, well, they're going to have lasagna on the menu. They're going to have tortellini on the menu. They're going to have lo mein. And then I'm going to have another menu. I go to 3 menu readings a week. And we have menu studies. And we have a new menu teacher. And they teach me the menu. But they never read it. What good is it? But once you sit and you've read the menu and you say, I think I'll try some of the white chicken with wine sauce. Okay, now, you've got it. It slides in and starts to do exotic things inside of you. And you say, wow, I've got it. I am now one with it. And you know what's the amazing part? That dead chicken you put in your mouth becomes you. It lives again. Born again. Do you know that that's all you are, sitting here, dead chickens and dead cows and all that stuff? That's what you are. That's why some of you go snorting around, you know, and of course you're nothing but dead chickens and dead cows. It's true. Did you ever see how these chickens live again? There's no such thing as death. They become you. You know that's so. And some people say that sounds awful, but you know it's the way it is. It's really true. So there's the bridegroom and the chamber. So how can this parable, you touch the pineal, the 5 wise virgins, the 5 foolish virgins. Now what's the difference between the foolish and the wise? And now here's where we get to the point where you're going to have to, this is the little bit of the X-rated point, but it shouldn't be too difficult for most of you to take because most of you are very mature about this kind of stuff, okay? The 5 senses that remain virgin will touch the pineal gland. The 5 senses that do not remain virgin will not change the pineal gland. Michael has put his finger in his mouth saying, what the heck is he going to say now with this X-rated stuff? Well, here we go. Matthew 25, back to where you were. Matthew 25 and verse 3. Verse 2, 5 of them were wise, 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took what? No oil in the lamp. Oil is the Christ essence in your body. Listen to me. In your body, that oil is called chrism. That word means Christ. That's what that oil that is in your body is. That's why you can go like that. You're well lubed. Look at this. And I think that's good. Watch this one. Oh, okay. Where does this come from? It comes from a place in the top part of your brain called the claustrum. It is the oil which comes down from the brain, from the claustrum, and part of that oil goes into the pituitary gland where it becomes a white, milky substance. Mothers that breastfeed their babies, the milk is called claustrum. Other part of it goes into the pineal gland where it becomes a golden yellow substance. And the ancients said, I will take you out of the land of bondage, which is the lower flesh, up to a land flowing with milk and honey. From the claustrum, the chrism comes down, and that also collects down in the solar plexus area and down the abdominal area, becomes that which is the fluid that produces you and me. Coming from the claustrum, the ancients said the claustrum is the place where God's gifts comes from the higher place. And so they called it the holy claustrum. And then it became the saint claustrum. And then it became the holy cloth. And you guessed it. Santa Claus bringing gifts from the North Pole. That's where it came from. But instead of understanding this gift of life, we put the guy in a red suit, gave him a bag of toys, and sent him down a chimney. Had no idea whatsoever what these ancient people were telling us and teaching us of the claustrum and the gift of life. When that chrism spills out in abundance without discipline, listen to me, there is no oil to light the lamp. I'm going to say this one time, then I'm going to let it go. Okay? When you are going to meditate, when you go into, now if you meditate every day, I know that, you know what I'm talking. When you are going to meditate, abstain from sexual intercourse. Allow some oil to be in the lamp. Okay? Now listen to the quiet. And not one person is looking around. They're all staring. That doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't know what that is. It's like, they all go into the bathroom. What are you going to do? You're like, just comb my hair. Nobody does any of these things. I don't know how it all happens, but they just do. That's what this is about. When you get into this where the oil spills out continuously, and then there's no oil in it. So it's talking about some prudence. You've got to have this to raise itself up, because what happens is by the vibration of this electronic energy, this oil comes up the spine, up the canal, up the spinal canal, touches the pineal, and is the oil that lights the lamp, and then opens the door to the right side. There's not too much to ask. And it doesn't mean I don't believe in being celibate. I'm not talking about that, obviously. I'm talking simply to be prudent and be reasonable about it. When you're going to meditate. If you're going to plan on a real good meditation, then let it go for a day. Okay? It's not too hard to do. Okay? Okay. Real quickly. Basically, when it's no oil in the lamp, you're talking about the description of the desire of when your mind and your energy is spent in combat with the lower mind. When you're in combat with the lower mind, see, the wise who have oil in their lamp signify those who are in meditation. And they don't spill their life force bodily or spiritually in abundance. Now let's look at 25:5. We're just about finishing up. 25:5. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. The human element in all of us will cause us to sleep. It doesn't make any difference if you're a Christian, if you meditate, if you don't meditate. There are times when you're going to stop doing this. You're going to fall asleep. Something is going to happen. You're going to be too busy. You're going to have too much to do. You're not going to be able to do this. And you're going to fall asleep. All of us fall asleep. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the way it is. That's the aspect of it. You start to pay the price, and then you wake up. You start to get a bad dream. Something starts to happen in your life, and you wake up, and you get back up and start watching again, and you become awake, and you wait for the bridegroom. The key element here is while the bridegroom tarried. Okay? Do you realize that most people in religion are still waiting for him to come back, are still looking in the eastern sky? Every one of them for 2,000 years has died and missed it, and everyone for the next 2,000 years will die and miss it unless you understand what it is. As I told you, the New Age is the bridegroom coming right now, and that is the second coming of Jesus Christ, who said the kingdom does not come in such a way as to be seen. Why doesn't he come? Why doesn't he come say to people? Why? Maybe you're sitting here saying, well, I've never met him. I don't understand it. I've never experienced this thing. I don't know anything about it. Watch. Go to page 212 in your New Testament. Go to the book of James. The book of James, page 212 in the New Testament, James chapter 4 and verse 2. Okay? And it says, you lust and have not, you kill and desire to have and cannot obtain, you fight and war and you have not, because you ask not. See? You don't. It's a personal thing with you. It's got to be a personal thing with you. It's not something you can believe that somebody tells you. I can't convince you of this. If I tell you a lie and you believe it, it becomes the truth. If I tell you the truth and you don't believe it, it's a lie. I can't convince you of anything. You have to find it yourself. Shakyamuni Buddha says, I believe nobody, I believe nothing until I know the truth. When you go within yourself and you ask, I want to touch the mind of Christ, I want the mind of Christ, and you discipline yourself and you allow that energy to raise itself up and light that lamp and turn that oil into that fire of passion, of love of Christ, it will open up and you'll know. And there's not another person you'll be able to convince, but you have been convinced yourself by the power which is inside of you. And you'll know. You'll know. And it works. But it's yours, and it's very private, and it's very personal. And God, I don't know how you can deprive even children. You should sit at home with your children and teach them how to meditate. Even the doctors say through meditation, the melatonin flows down, and this melatonin can help to destroy cancer cells and all of the benefits that can come to your body and the immune system. Why wouldn't you do this? It's beyond me. And the people that should know are the ones who are telling you don't do it. And you know what Shakyamuni Buddha said? Look out. When you become too tuned into your lower animal nature, you become predictable. Just like an animal. You know, you'll always know. If you go hunting, you'll find out, first of all, what are the instincts of that animal so that you can trap it, because you'll know exactly what that animal will do and you'll be able to trap it. You'll know what they like, you'll know what they don't like. And you know it's the same thing with you. When you're like that and you're leaning on your lower nature, people can trap you because they'll know what turns you on, they'll know what turns you off. They got you just like that. And this breaks that. And the amazing thing is the people who are telling you not to do this are the people who are setting the trap. Because they can't have you get away from them. Where's all the money going to go? That's the part. That's what religion fears about this. When you find that God and His power is inside of you, what do you need them for? And the key element here then is that we ask not, and only in meditation can you ask for the bridegroom, and only in meditation can you dispatch the 5 wise virgins. And I'll catch you later. Just let me do one more thing, and I want to show you this, and this is interesting, okay? Look at Matthew 25:6, where we were. And this is pretty interesting, and I want to show you how this works. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom comes, go out and meet him. See that? When did it happen? Okay. I'll show you why it happens at midnight. There's a reason. Midnight is 12. Okay. This is the way the ancients came up with the number of perfection. The number of perfection is 12. That's the number of perfection. The 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 disciples, and all of that kind of bit. This is how they arrived at that. You take the fourfold nature of yourself: physical, intellectual, spiritual, and emotional. Okay, times 3, which is new life. That is the number of new life. 4 times 3 equals 12. perfection. Your new life, okay? You being restored 3 days and 3 nights. The fourfold nature of man is perfection. What is perfection? 1, which is God, and 2, which is you and the Spirit together, is God and you. It equals 3, new life. And that's the number 12. And you'll always see that throughout the Bible. Always, and it's always the basis of everything is the number 12. In your solar plexus, remember we talked about that before? That's the sun. That's the place of the sun. Do you know what goes on in there? That solar plexus is surrounded by the 12 sympathetic nerve systems of your body. 12 of them. That's the 12 signs of the zodiac spinning around the sun. It's the 12 disciples sitting around Christ. Christ is the sun. Look. Let me show you something real quick. Real quick. Here's the earth. Here's the sun. It comes down from heaven. On December the 21st, it goes through the Southern Cross, the constellation. It's crucified. Did you know that? On December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, the sun sits in the bowels of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. It's entombed. Did you know that? On December the 25th, by the trajectory of the earth, God's Son, His only begotten Son, the light of the world, begins its upward arc. It's born on December 25th. And do you know what? It's born out of the constellation Virgo. It's born of a virgin. And then it rises and touches the Lamb of God, which is Aries. And the burnt offering is consumed. And then in the northern hemisphere, God's Son sits at the right hand of power, over here, in the eastern sky. And then summer comes to the world, and all life is renewed. Do you know that as we're sitting here right now in October, the sun is beginning its downward arc because it has to submit to the crucifixion. If it doesn't submit to the crucifixion, and if it doesn't sit 3 days and 3 nights, it cannot resurrect and rise back up to the Lamb, and you can't have summer. But it will. It will. It will. And do you see what's important here? Because that sun in here must be of a virgin, rise up. Okay? Crucifying the flesh means the 5 senses. 2 hands, feet, side. That's the 5 symbols of the number 5, which is sacrifice. Crucifying the flesh and the virgin consciousness, that sun will rise back up, and then it will sit at the right hand, the right hemisphere of your brain, and summer will come to your life if you'll let it. If you'll let it. If you'll let it. And so that's what number 12 means. It's a number of perfection. And when you go on to perfection, what that is saying to you is that when you sit and you come here and you might sit in here and you cross your legs, you kick your shoe, and say, whatever it is. When you sit there, you'll come to 12. You'll come to the midnight hour. And inside of you, the impulse is saying, the bridegroom is here. The bridegroom is here. Your lamp is lit. Go out to meet the bridegroom. And that's the beautiful part of this. Psalm 119:62 says, at midnight I will rise to give thanks to you. You go out into the air, go out to meet him. It says in Matthew 25:37, Matthew 25:7, all the virgins trimmed their lamps, but the 5 didn't have no oil in their lamp. So you got to use your senses wisely, and you got to discipline yourself. If you're foolish, there'll be no oil, and you won't be able to meet the bridegroom. It all comes from a Hindu passage called Lahita Vastara. Exercise yourselves to find the way of salvation and dispel with the lamp of wisdom the darkness of ignorance. And it says in Matthew 25:8 that those who misuse the 5 senses realize they have nothing. What's going to give them the light? And the last scripture as we wrap this up, Jesus says in Matthew 25:9, go to them that sell and buy it for yourselves. What's that mean? It means you come in here, you don't know what to do. You can't find that. You can't find that bridegroom. You've never done this. You don't have the oil. You don't know what the heck is going on. You don't know what he's talking about. And Jesus is saying, you can't meet the bridegroom now, but you can go and you can buy the oil for your lamp. And then you can bring your lamp. And then you can meet the bridegroom. But you got to go buy the oil. What's it going to cost you? It's going to cost you 10% of everything you got. It's going to cost you 10% of everything you got. That's what that oil is sold for. What's that mean? 10% of all of your money? Not a dime of your money. Not a penny of your money. 10% of everything you've got is the left side of your brain. The carnal mind. You got to exchange that and you'll get the oil. If you're willing to give up that 10%, you'll get the oil. And Jesus says, go and buy it. It costs 10%. The left side, the 10%. You give it, and you'll get in return. You'll get the oil. And the lamp will light. And they knocked on the door. Let us in. And he said, no, I never knew you. I'm the bridegroom. He's saying, you're the bride. I've got to intercourse with you. I've got to penetrate you. You've got to be willing to take me up into your chamber and expose yourself to me so that I can penetrate you, and I will place inside of you the incorruptible seed. But first you've got to become a virgin. And when you become a virgin, then the bridegroom will come into your chamber, and you will consummate the marriage of the Lamb, and I will penetrate, and I will place that incorruptible seed within you, and you will become spiritually pregnant, and you will give birth to the Christ. Christmas will happen in your life every day of the year. And what's the lamp? What's the tool? If your eye be single, if you'll give that 10%, your body will fill with light. Okay? Thank you for